Mm.
Oh, oh, there we are.
We're not having a great deal of luck here, Jeff.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think it was an internet outage on my end.
Is that right?
Yeah, we had some brief thunderstorm here. I think it knocked out the signal for just a moment. Sorry about that.
Well, it's just as well because I forgot to start record.
Okay.
Oh man, this is terrible. It's one of those days, I think. Just
Oh,
so
that's all right. That's all right.
let's just do a recap. You'd like to just
Sure.
start off, reintroduce yourself, and we'll just hopefully we're not having any more interruptions and we can get on.
All right. So, hey, Richard, my name is Jeff Schreiber. It's a real pleasure and a thrill to be part of your great podcast. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm talking to you here from Salt Lake City, Utah, in the U.S., and I'm a multi-sport athlete that's competed with Team USA in age group championships 4 times now, and hopefully next year in Australia. I've been part of the multi-sport world for, I don't know, for about a dozen years. I started relatively later in life, like you, in my mid 40s, and just really have caught the bug, the triathlon bug, and really love the community and the opportunities to compete and participate in some of these world triathlon events have been some of the most thrilling and amazing experiences I've had, with the opportunity to travel, to meet like-minded people of our age cohort who are amazing and excellent at doing what they do. I have amazing respect and admiration for Team GB and all its members, the folks I've gotten to meet at some of these events. And I hope to be able to do it if my body and mind are still um, are still cooperating into our later age.
Cool, great, yeah, totally agree with you. Everything you've said. Thank you once again for coming on and sharing your time. It's great to have somebody from across the pond to share their knowledge and story and journey. We've only ever had one other American on, which was, as you know, was Dr. Jim, and that was a really good chat. So hope to have more in the future, but we'll talk about that later. So getting into your background, growing up as a kid, just briefly, basically, tell us what you were up to.
Sure. So I grew up in the American South in the state of North Carolina. Came from a sporting family. My father and his brother, my uncle, were American football players of note, and my uncle, in fact, played a season or two in the professional National Football League. And growing up, I wanted to follow in their footsteps, and I was very active in playing all the ball sports, playing soccer, or what you would normally refer to as football, baseball, basketball, and then as I got a little bit older and grew a little taller and filled out, I started playing American football, and had some reasonable level of success with that. I played a quarterback and gained a scholarship to play at the university close to my home in North Carolina. And once I was through with that, had the opportunity to come over to play and coach American football for a season in the UK, in a league that at that time in the mid 80s was sponsored by Anheuser-Busch. It was called the Budweiser League. It eventually morphed into what was known as the World Football League. It had franchises in London and Birmingham and some other European cities. And I linked up with a sort of middle division team in West Bromwich, known as the West Bromwich Fireballs. And so I came over as a quarterback player coach to help lead that middle division team. We had a lot of fun, and it was a fantastic and sometimes hilarious experience to play with these local guys from West Brom, many of whom were big burly steel worker types from the Birmingham steel mills who wanted to nothing more than to put on some pads and a helmet and go out and knock heads with people. And that was a lot of fun. It was short lived. I was there for a season. I was working on the side since this was a semi-professional arrangement. I was working at a steel foundry as a metal fabrication guy, putting my college degree to very good use. and had an unfortunate industrial accident where a steel plate came across one of my feet, broke two of my toes, almost took off my big toe. And so that was the end of my season there, and pretty much the end of my American football career. I decided at that point it was probably best to head back over to the States and embark on a desk business career.
That, just thinking about what you were saying there, that sounds like it would be a great movie to make. A young kid coming over from the US trying to get this bunch of steel makers together to make an American football team. It does, doesn't it? It sounds like a great idea for a film.
Oh, there are some funny stories. In fact, if you're familiar with the author John Grisham, he
Yes.
normally he's known for writing crime dramas, but he wrote a very short book called Playing for Pizza, which the plot and the premise was a young man like I was to come over to play and coach in Italy for some guys who were long on spirit and short on technique, and that book uh, was a lot of parallels to my experience.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So you decided to go back home. What was the next stages? What did you get up to?
Sure. So I went back to the U.S. and went back to grad school to get a business degree, and that was there at Emory University in Atlanta, where I met my future wife, Kathy, and we've been married now 29 years. Have two
Congratulations.
grown. Thank you. We have two grown children, um, and embarked on a business
Congratulations.
career. Yeah, mainly in financial services, banking. I worked in the credit card industry for a number of years. Worked with the General Electric company for about 20 years, and the career took us to some different places. We lived in Atlanta, we lived in Dallas, Texas, in Chicago, then came back to Atlanta, and then finally, about 13 years ago, the job took us out here to Utah, where we've been ever since. And we figured we might be here for a year or two since GE was famous for moving people around. But 13 years later, here we are, and I've since retired from full time work. I've been doing some part time things, including helping coach and head up a local triathlon club here. Really following my passions, and that's been a real blessing.
Fantastic. Yeah, really, really cool. And I might say lucky to be able to do so at our age.
All absolutely. Yeah, like you, I took up multisport relatively later in life. So I was 44 when I did my first triathlon, and it was only after kind of coming to it at first for medical reasons. I've been staying active playing like recreational basketball for a number of years until my knees really didn't agree with that anymore. I had a surgically reconstructed knee at an ACL replacement about 25 years ago, and that playing basketball really became more pain than pleasure. And so I went to my physician, and I was a little concerned that maybe I'd re-injured sports. If you've ever considered like swimming or cycling, something where you're not moving laterally and putting pressure on that and torque on that knee. And I said, well, I'd love riding bikes recreationally growing up. Um, I could swim across a pool, but I was never part of a swim team or didn't have any real technique. And as far as running, I sort of had a conflicted relationship with running. I mean, I would always run a lot playing all those ball sports, but running just for running's sake, psychologically, I always equated to sort of punishment. It was always, the coach, the basketball coach or the football coach, after a bad game, he'd say, "Till I get tired."
Yeah, yeah,
There was always a negative
yeah.
sort of connotation to just running for running's sake.
Yeah.
And so that was something I had to sort of psychologically get past. And
Heard that
now,
previously.
of
One of the
course,
guests,
love to run.
yeah, one of the guests previously, he said exactly the same. And
So what?
I'd never really thought about it as being a punishment in some sports. You know, you're giving it as a punishment. I'd never really thought about it like that, but it's yeah, and it's usually the sports where you're sprinting about. Like, I think he was a soccer player at the time, and he was like doing short sprints, and he'd be sent off to do a long run, and hated it.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it wasn't until several years later where I began to gain an appreciation for uh, swimming technique until I began to get some coaching. And now in the sense that it's very meditative. I can get a lot of my thinking done while you're swimming. And so I, I I took up those straight line sports and became aware of a triathlon event in North Carolina at the time, and so I thought it might be a good opportunity to do that, and at the same time serve as a bit of an awareness fundraiser for a chromosomal condition that our daughter was born with called Turner's. Raise some funds for the cause, and decided to give triathlon a try. My first was a sprint distance in a pool, and I rode an old steel frame Schwinn Huffy bicycle, and about I guess it would be kilometer 10 into the ride. I had a flat back tire. Of course, didn't have any replacement tools, and even if I did, I wouldn't know how to replace a tire. So I rode the rest of the race on the flat tire, kaflapa, 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 and the run was more of a walk than a run, but I completed it and just got buzz, the biggest thrill out of completing it, that I got hooked. And so fast forward a number of years, and I started doing local triathlons and then regional ones, and then started to try my hand at some national competitions to see if I could possibly qualify for one of these world events. And in
How did
2018,
you find out, Jeff, about the qualification and the US team as an age group? Or how did that come about?
sure. So over time, started to participate in a lot of local events that were sanctioned by, and so curious about what is it. There's a ranking system, so you get results for a race, and it goes into a ranking grid, and it's up against other participants your age. And so as I got a little bit more into my competitive um, fires a bit, and I thought, well, what would it take to even qualify to do a national championship event, and what would I beyond that to do a world event to track? And I did in 2018. I traveled to Florida to do that in Miami, and ended up getting a roll down spot to qualify in aquabike to go to Palm Beach, Spain in the next year, 2019. That was a very proud day. It was a very proud and exciting time to get the jersey, and just feel like you're part of that effort. Um, I don't know. You and I are about the same age. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and at that time there were so many Olympic heroes that I think back to, like uh, Sugar Ray Leonard and Bruce Jenner, now Kylie Jenner, or uh, all those, and probably in your case like Sebastian Coe, all those great Olympians.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was never any good at any Olympic sports, but it was always sort of a crazy dream to be maybe part of an Olympic someday. And so this World Triathlon, or at that time ITU, event was kind of like that, kind of like a little mini Olympics for age groupers, for masters athletes, and that's what the experience was. It was unbelievable. The opening ceremonies and uh, getting to meet people from other countries and hang out in the hotels and go on practice rides, and it was just a fantastic, fabulous experience. And again, I caught the bug of wanting to do more of that. And so since then I've been able to qualify in aquathlon and went to Ibiza this past spring. Was in Slovakia last summer doing aqua bike, and that was a blast because that was part of the Collins Cup
All right.
professional competition weekend, and it was unbelievable to see the pros right up front and race on the same course that they did. That was amazing. And then this year we got a chance. I got my first chance to bring the whole family over with me, including the kids, to Hamburg, and participated in the mixed team relay there. And again, that was a real blast.
Yeah, that looked really
Now
good fun.
it was so much fun. The relay is so much fun. It is a real blast. And at a kind of a fun moment at that event where we're swimming in we're about to get ready to swim in the I guess they call it the Binnenhalter inner lake inside of Hamburg city limits, and everybody's kind of waiting for their waves to go into the corral, and sitting alongside on the dock, Team GB guys were talking about what to, and my son comes up and sits down beside me, and he goes, "Dad, did you ever imagine uh, your triathlon journey would bring you to this?" And we looked around, and here's this beautiful lake, and all these people from all over the world, kind of cheering in the crowds along the streets. And there's the Hamburg City Hall off in the distance. And I thought about it. I said, no, I had no idea, no clue that it would bring us to this. And that was kind of a special moment.
Yeah, I mean it's great, isn't it? Because it's like it's so good when you can take your kids with you, making memories, that they're gonna cherish forever. I did the same when I went to Romania and did a duathlon. My two sons and their partners came, and there was the six of us, and it was just, yeah, there was a race there, but just as a family holiday as well. It was so special. So yeah, I can totally get what you're saying. Just going back to your team at the USA, was there anybody within your club or your area that had also qualified and you knew? Because obviously America's a massive place, isn't it? How did that work?
Yeah, well, actually, very few people locally have gone this route of ITU World Triathlon Team USA. Ironman is
Yeah,
huge here
yeah,
for most of my cohorts who are into multisports here. Um, Fortunately, though, as I was trying to qualify that very first time for Team USA, became aware of one of the Team USA coaches, who actually, as I found out, was located right here in Salt Lake City. And so I went to him and sort of begged to be one of his clients. Would he take me on to coach me? And he agreed. His name is Pat Casey.
cool.
He and his wife Heather run, which I'm wearing their hat, and they're just absolutely fantastic and have done so much for me and others in the multi-sport community. And for me, it really gave me a lot more structure and purpose around my training.
Yeah,
And I've been able to take that, and I've really gone from being a kind of a weekend warrior, and kind of move that to having multi-sport being more of a lifestyle. And that's been really valuable. They're great people, and they take on clients remotely. So I'll put in a little plug for Peak State Fit.
cool. And were you coached before that at all, or was it all just self done?
It was all self done before that, and as I look back, I mean, some of it I picked up through books or just learning from other folks in the local triathlon club, and a lot of it, what I was doing probably wasn't really sound from a coaching standpoint. I've learned so much from Pat and from podcasts and reading a little bit more just about structured training, periodized training, um, the importance of rest and recovery not to cheat that. Um, the importance of going slow to eventually get fast. All these concepts I've only come to know a little bit more about in the last couple of years, and I've got so much more to learn because, like you, I came to this relatively late in life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Never stop learning. Every day is a school day. It's incredible, and that's why I like doing this podcast, because I learn so much from guys like you who've got a different outlook on things, and you're always in different ages as well. A couple of podcasts ago, I had a young guy on who was 25, and in the thick of it, doing longer distances, and he's again, you're just always learning, always picking things up. It's so good. And you've qualified for Australia.
Qualified for Australia. I'm hoping that things work
Congratulations.
out where I can head down there. That was one that I had on the calendar circled for a long time. It was scheduled before COVID, and of course I got and moved out, and this aquathlon. I may try to see if I can do long distance aqua bike and get there in 2 events, but that's a destination I've always wanted to go to.
Yeah. And what size is the USA team that they take over generally then? Is it well represented?
It's the events that I've been part of. It's been pretty well represented. I'd say upwards of 100 or so. Slovakia seemed like it was a pretty large group. Pontevedra was large. I don't think we come to it with the same numbers um, as far as quantity and, for that matter, quality. We do pretty well the much older age groups, and I'd say we last several that I've been part of, we've been between like 100 and 150 participants.
Yeah. I also guess it depends where in the world it is as well. I mean, if it's Europe, then it's it's probably harder to get to. Australia easier to get to. That sort of Canada easier to get to. It's going to depend,
Sure.
isn't it? Yeah, it makes a big,
It is.
because I remember I was over in Australia in 2018 at the Gold Coast, and the USA had a second biggest number of athletes there. Normally, I mean, obviously you would expect Australia to be the biggest, and anywhere in Europe, it's usually the UK GB have got the biggest representation. Embarrassingly so sometimes, especially in the European Championships. It's it can be a bit of a Brit fest, but yeah, it was nice to see over there in Australia where you had the bigger countries represented really well. So that was nice to see. But it's just I mean, it's just phenomenal that and I hope it grows. I mean, financially, with things the way things are going, it's difficult, I know, but it's just like you said, you can't do this in any other sport. You can't, and I've said it before, you can't race on the same circuit as the pros do in any other sport, really. Especially like at the same, not exactly the same time, but maybe the morning before or after or whatever. It's unique, and I hope we can continue doing it. Because it's really special.
It is very special, and I wish that it was bigger popularly in America. I think Europeans in general, Brits, you really revere cyclists and cycling much more in a popular way than it is in the U.S. I wish we could promote it more in stateside here, but for those who are into it, they're really into it.
Yeah.
And so we do have I would say a smaller but really strong community of multisport enthusiasts.
Yeah, good to see. So have you tried to influence any of your club members to get on board with the age group?
I have, yeah. So one of the one of the things and causes I've gotten involved with here is the USA Triathlon Foundation, which is the fundraising and philanthropic arm of the USA Triathlon sanctioning body. And so the foundation has really raises funds for three things. One is to um, promote multi-sport involvement for kids, for youth. Second is to promote opportunities for para athletes to get involved. And third is to help hopefuls. And so I've been an ambassador for the USA Triathlon Foundation for the past couple of years, helping to raise funds and get some pretty nice nice looking kit. And so I'm sporting that kit at most events. Sometimes I get some questions, but try to raise a little bit of awareness for that particular track of triathlon competitions, which to me is so much fun. I have ultimate respect for Ironman and those who take on the Ironman journey and those who become uh, endurance athletes. I have awe and admiration for those programs and those individuals, but for really fun part is doing the world triathlon route.
Yeah, cool. And I saw again, you've been a guide for the paras. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. More recently, I've had the opportunity, the fantastic opportunity, to serve as a triathlon guide and a push assist partner for adaptive athletes and specifically adaptive young um, triathletes. So this summer, this season, I've had the opportunity to go to the U.S. Nationals, and we brought a team from Utah. Our club, which I'm part of, called Intermountain Multisport, has helped to sponsor a USA Triathlon coach named Shannon Clausen, who does amazing work with a group of intellectually different, neurodivergent young people here in the Utah area to train them up to do their very first triathlon. And so we've run a local triathlon event here for the last 3 years. And last year brought a couple of individuals to the youth and junior national competition. Last year was in Ohio. This year was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This year we brought a team of 5 athletes, and it was made possible by a very generous grant from that USA Triathlon Foundation to help, pay for costs to get them out to the race. And I had the privilege of being able to serve as the side by side race guide for one of those athletes, a young man named Alex, who is remarkable in his own right, and so got to swim and do the bike, and I ran with him all the way to the final finisher chute, and then let him continue through to the finish, and that was amazing. And then I've had the opportunity to participate with an organization called the Kyle Pease Foundation, which was founded by 2 brothers. In fact, they wrote a book, Brent and Kyle Pease, similar to Dick Hoyt and his son, who were famous for. Dick Hoyt would push his son in a race stroller, who did the Boston Marathon, number of marathons. Brent Pease has a younger brother named Kyle, who he has push assisted through races, including Ironman Kona. And they have a foundation called the Kyle Pease Foundation for adaptive athletes, young people through a triathlon here locally. And again, that was funds I've ever had. Was on the run. Once we'd gotten through the swim and the bike and gotten to the run portion of the race, and I'm kind of pushing the race buggy, and the run course was an out and back, and so you got to see everybody coming out or coming back, passing by, and I was pushing a young lady named Emma, and seeing everybody, every single individual coming back by us, passing by, brought a smile to their faces, and it was just the spirit and the enthusiasm was, go, 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 let's go, we got this, we're doing this distance today. Everybody was into it, and that was something I didn't anticipate, but was an unbelievable a blessing to have that experience as part of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's special, isn't it? Triathlon as a whole is generally like that. You get that vibe, don't you, when you go to events? Everybody's supportive. The crowd, other competitors. It's you're trying to beat people, but it's still that, come on, you can do it, camaraderie. So yeah, I can totally appreciate that, and it's great to see, isn't it, that at the minute the para side of it is gaining more and more notoriety, and it's being put on at the same time as other events, and not just in triathlon, in other events totally globally. It's really good to see. Cycling's just been on, hasn't it? The world champs, and that was well organized and really well done. So it's really great giving these guys and girls a platform to actually, because they're incredible, absolutely incredible.
Absolutely, yeah, and I look to a lot of people and examples as inspirations, and that's certainly one of them. In fact, I'd put a plug in for another podcast for folks who might be interested in being inspired by other elite para athletes. There's a fellow out here who lives in the Park City area. He was the most decorated para Olympian ski racer of all time. His name is Chris Waddell, and he's gone on to be a sportscaster for NBC at the Paralympics, and has started up his own foundation and runs two podcasts, and they're both unbelievable. He talks to amazing people, para athletes and able-bodied athletes, about their journeys and experiences. The podcast is called Living It with Chris Waddell. There's another one called Name Tags, so he kind of runs them in parallel. And the people he talks with and the stories that they relate, to me, inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll look out those podcasts, because in my line of work, I'm always looking and listening for new podcasts, good podcasts to listen to. So they'll definitely be on the list now. So thank you for that. Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great story that you've told us so far. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Obviously, you've done Hamburg, which was a fantastic race, watching it on the TV. Great venue as always. You've got Australia coming up. Good luck with that. Anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll just add maybe two thoughts. I think one is I would echo one of the thoughts that I heard from Dr. Jim Taylor on your podcast, which was, as much as we're competitors, and I'm trying to benchmark myself against the elite and trying to be as competitive as I can, I've I've come to the quick realization that at these world triathlon events, I'm in the back of the pack. Okay. And the gap is wide, and it may take me another decade or two if I ever have aspirations to be anywhere close to a podium at one of those events. And so I really related to something Dr. Jim said on your podcast, which was the elite podium level folks at these world events, they're not worried about me. Okay. uh, and so I kind of see my role, to the extent that I can continue to qualify and compete at these events, is to be part of the good vibe tribe, and really bring an attitude of positivity and camaraderie. And as I think about it, it also takes a little bit of the pressure off, and as I train and practice.
You just froze again.
As what's that?
You just froze a little bit there. You just
said, sorry about that.
You were just talking about, I don't know, I think it's our end now this time. You were just talking about the taking the pressure off.
yeah, it takes the pressure off in the sense that um, I'm comfortable now being in the back of the pack and at those type at that level. But it allows me or enables me to soak in a little bit more of the experience and the atmosphere and the beauty of the course and just the experience of being part of something that is global, and that's really cool. Um, so that's one thought is just taking in the experience of and being grateful that we get to do this. First of all, we get to do this at our age, and the second thought is one of the great things that I love about what you do in bringing this podcast to the community is enabling and allowing people to tell their stories. And triathlon, I'm sure you may have found the same thing. Out of all the endeavors that I've been involved with in life, I think triathlon is the one where I've heard and seen and been part of the most amazing stories. People have the most amazing journeys as to how they come to triathlon and what it's enabled them to do in their lives. And a lot of the stories are things that people have overcome. It could be disease, cancer, it could be obesity, it could be you know traumatic family experiences, relationships, what have you. People have used multisport to overcome, deal with, and overcome things in their lives and become stronger through it. And even though what we're doing is not, we're not curing cancer, we're not solving world hunger, but it's making a positive difference in people's lives. And so I really appreciate you giving space and voice to people to tell their stories. And that's something that I just find endlessly fascinating is what are people's stories and what are their motivations that bring them to this multi-sport journey.
Yeah, I echo what you've just said. I've This is the 82nd interview. Sorry, 83rd interview. This is the 83rd interview that I've done, and like you just rightly said, everybody's story is unique, and all of those points that you've just brought out, obesity, blah blah blah, they've all appeared at some point, because everybody's got a story, and I think the end point being that they've brought themselves through there and they've achieved getting in that kit and racing on an either European or a world level at a multi-sport event. And from what they've gone to from A to Z is incredible along the way. So and like you've just said about you're never gonna worry the podium guys. I'm exactly the same, but that's not the point. My battle is to get there in the first place, and
Yes.
then that's my achievement. When I'm there, I'm like you, enjoy the whole experience, because I never ever thought I'd be good enough to be able to qualify and do what I've done. So everything else going forward's a bonus. Yeah, and it is. It's just, and who knows? The longer we do it, the better we get. Consistency. We might get close. Who knows? You never know. Keep going is what I'm saying, Jeff. Keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If the body and mind hold out, I'd love to be able to have the same conversation maybe 20 years from now, and maybe we'll be racing for the podium then.
That'll be super. That'll be super. Well, that's great. So I've just got a round of the quick fire questions to go, and then
Yeah.
I won't take any more of your time up. We got there in the end, which is fantastic. Thanks for bearing with me. So this is like quite a relatively new bit I've put in. What does a week of training look like for you?
Sure. So a week of training for me typically looks like Monday as sort of a rest day, and then the rest of the week doing something, one of the three disciplines, plus some strength training. So usually I'll try to, my coach and I will schedule in 2 to 3 swims, 2 to 3 bikes, 2 to 3 runs. One of those swims, one of those bikes, one of those runs being long, the other ones being shorter and more targeted, focused on some on some objective, and I'll try to sprinkle in some strength training in there. In the off season, I like to get into the weight room. That's part of my athletic background, was playing American football. I like lifting weights when it's in the off season. Uh, in season, it's more functional strength training, and that's where the coaching has been invaluable. Um, one of the unbelievable functional strength training programs I'll put another plug out for is something called foundation training, which for me has really been a game changer, because I've had issues with herniated back discs. I have a, a narrowing of the spine. Uh, Functional strength training does is basically lengthens and strengthens the spine, gets things in alignment, strengthens your core, and it's available on a series of YouTube videos. They have an app, and it's been a real game changer for me to keep me healthy enough to be able to be consistent.
Cool, good. Yeah, well, that sounds like a full week of training, and like you said earlier, it's a lifestyle, isn't it? So it doesn't, it's just what we do, isn't it? So it doesn't feel like training most of the time. It's just, if you haven't done it, there's something missing. That's how my mind works. So great. Yeah, nice to hear. What's your favorite of the disciplines then? Swim, bike, run?
I kind of go back and forth on it. Honestly, for a longest time, bike was my favorite, just because that was the one that I was probably the strongest in. But over time, I've come to really love swimming, sort of the meditative aspect of it, and how I feel after a good strong swim. And I've also come to appreciate running. I've gotten past that psychological barrier of it being punitive punishment, to really loving the feeling that I have after a good run, that endorphin kick that you get. And so I go back and forth on which is my favorite. I think currently I might say the run, because I'm finally, after many years, starting to see some small incremental gains and improvements in form, fitness, and pace and speed. And so I take a little bit of heart in feeling like, hey, I've still got some room to improve.
Cool, nice. Well, hope you keep it up. Hope it goes well for you. What was that last one? Oh yeah, what's your favorite bit of kit that you've got?
Oh, favorite bit of kit. But I have to say my bike. She is my pride and joy. I've splurged on a TT bike about 5 years ago. It's a Trek Speed Concept, and
Nice.
I had to get a very large frame. I'm a taller fella, so I had to get a specially made large frame for it, and I love it. And I get out to ride on it as much as I can, as much as the weather will allow.
Yeah. Do you use the trainer in the winter?
Yeah, yeah. I got went in last year on a Wahoo Smart Trainer, and began training more with power, which again has been a real game changer.
Yeah.
In seeing some gains in the off season.
Yeah. What platform do you use?
I've used Zwift on and off, but I found that just programming in rides out of like Training Peak software, and using that to drive the workout has been pretty effective, and that enables me to be able to listen to podcasts and things while I'm doing it. That's what I found works for me.
Oh, good. And what resources do you use to help your training?
I do love podcasts. Oh boy. And several of them include things like the Huberman Lab podcast.
Yeah, great podcast. Yeah, really good.
Learning about how the brain works and the nervous system and how it all connects. There are a couple of podcasts documenting multi-sport people's journeys. There's one here stateside that's started up this last year called the triathlon age group journey. I
Yeah, I've
really
just
like
come
hearing the
across that.
stories.
Yeah, yeah,
I mentioned Chris Waddell's podcast.
yeah.
And now that I've discovered yours, I want to go back through the library and hear some more of those stories too.
Cool, cool. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for the support. Much appreciated. And then finally, short and long-term goals.
Yeah, short and long term goals. Well, short term, I've got one more race this year. I kind of moved from short course stuff at the beginning of the season, now turning the page towards longer course, and I've got I'm registered to do Ironman 70.3 Arizona in Phoenix in October, and that might be my last event for this year. I'm toying with the idea of trying to qualify for long distance aquabike. The qualifier for us for the stateside for that is in Florida in, I think, early November. So I'm kind of weighing whether to travel out there to try to do that, which would add another event to Multisport Festival. Short term, long, just to maintain health, that I can be consistent in training um, and just stay happy and to do this. I'd really like to see this through and see how far I can take it. Um, Fortunately, I have support. My she's been of my long training days and has been my great partner and occasional equipment Sherpa, going to travel to events. And so we tried to build in as a little bit of adventure where we can go someplace interesting and do a little bit of vacation around that. We've seen some beautiful spots in Spain and Austria and Slovakia, and hopefully, who knows? Well, maybe we can make our way down to Australia next year and see some of the world.
Great. And she doesn't fancy getting involved in multisport then?
A couple of years back, we did some relay races as a family. So myself and my wife and kids all took part. And I think they did it to sort of humor me, but we had fun with it. She's not into multi-sport, swim, bike, run as much as I am. We both like to hike together. We like to kayak and ski. Um, do a lot of walking. There's amazing trails here in Utah to explore. So we do a lot of that together and have fun with that. But as far as the long distance swimming and biking and running, she leaves that to me.
Nice one, nice one. Well, as long as you're staying fit and healthy, it doesn't really matter what you do, does it? So that's really cool. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. Thank you once again for coming on the pod and sharing your great story. Much appreciated. Sorry about the hiccups we've had along the way, but we've got there in the end, and I think it's going to be fantastic as it goes out. So really, really do appreciate your time.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you for all you do with your podcast, what you do for the community. Um, I would I would love it if maybe the theme music of this might be you could pick out a House Martin song, maybe
You know what?
Happy Hour or something like that.
That would be really pretty good, but I think it would cost me. I did look at doing some proper music on there, and in the end, it was just far too complicated because every time you play your theme tune,
Oh, you got to pay for the rights. Oh.
I thought if I could get away with it for maybe 20 seconds, then it wouldn't cost me anything. But no, it doesn't work like that. So in the end, the music I sort of like stuck with was just free. So that's how that's come about. If I ever get like big and sponsored, then I'm afraid it's gonna have to be what it is. So yeah. But
Oh,
yeah,
it's
the
all
House
good, all
Martins
good.
would be cool. Actually, myself and my wife went to see the ex-lead singer of the House Martins over in Hull, and he was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, he really was.
Oh, yeah. They went on to become what, Beautiful South, and then
That's right.
Fatboy Slim, and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they've had quite the careers.
yeah. Really, really cool. Well, like I say, thank you ever so much. If you can, share this podcast with your community, not just your local community, but the US team, it would be
Absolutely.
fantastic. If you know anybody else who would like to come on and again share their experience. Maybe once you've been on and they've listened to it, you could point them in the direction of Dr. Jim's pod. It would really, I would really love to share their stories as well. So that would be really cool. And one last thing that I would ask you if you could do for me, just send a couple of your favorite photographs across that we can use for promo. That would be cool.
Sure thing.
Yeah, and if you've got anything else that you'd like to say. It's been
No,
a pleasure.
absolutely, emphatically yes to all the above. Be really happy to share it with the Team USA crew. I know there's some individuals with amazing stories, and would love to relate them. And yeah, I'll send you over some photos as well of me struggling through the bike or run. Some of the greats.
Great. Well, like I say, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to look out for your results coming up. I'll keep an eye on you. We'll keep in touch through Instagram because that's what I'm mainly on. So yeah, thank you again, and I'll let you go. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and
Likewise, appreciate it. I hope we get to link up at one of the world events sometime too.
That would be really cool. It would be really cool. Thanks again, Jeff.
All the best. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.